I think Jeff is with us. He is on the phone. And Jeff, good morning, sir. Can you hear me loud and clear, sir? Good to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's an honor to be on your show. And
been a long time. Yeah,
it's been a minute. It's been a pandemic's worth of time.
Man, did you ever get COVID?
I did. New Year's. So the Omicron was very interesting. What we saw at our restaurants for the entire process of the first 18 months, 19 months. We had probably about 8 or 9 cases that were dotted across the 3 restaurants, broken up over time. And then in December, about December 17th, between December 17th and the middle of January, we had 80 cases of, 48 cases of
Amazing. In talking to people like Robert St. John, we talk about how transformative this pandemic has been to the restaurant industry. But people don't understand when you start talking about not only the pandemic, which was bad enough, but there are just so many other things. Now the gasoline situation, you've got the inflation, you've got the supply chain. How in the world, when anybody says they're opening up a restaurant, you look at them and they say, you make sure counseling is part of your initial expense. But what do you think? What do you feel? Yeah.
I've suggested that perhaps they should look at rodeo clown as another option. Maybe a little bit easier.
Yes.
You only get gored every now and then. You don't get gored every day.
Plus, you're not as much in the target as you are with the bill collectors coming from a restaurant ownership. Mangia Bene is a great name for that restaurant or for that
thank you.
management group.
That's the name of our restaurant group. It's Italian for eat well, good eating.
Yes.
So let me address your question there. Let me because I actually did just recently talk to somebody about opening a restaurant and what they wanted to do. So I'm really blessed. I mean, I'm almost 30 years into this. It's over 28 years ago we opened Bravo. So Dan and I started working on this 3 decades ago, and Broad Street was opened in '98, and Salamuki's was opened in 2007, and then moved to the district in the middle of the pandemic, which was really quite an interesting process. But moved a little over a year ago. So I've seen a lot. I've literally had a chance to work with thousands and thousands of people here in Jackson that have come through our doors and worked with us. And I've served, I feel like the McDonald's sign, how many billions burgers sold. I've sold, we've served millions of people at this point. It's really kind of extraordinary to think about. So all that said, I don't regret anything. There have always been challenges. The last 2 years have truly been a meat grinder. The whole idea of when we had to shut everything down in March of 2020, and restaurants, we don't have any cash reserves of any stockholders and big lines of credit. So I worked very hard to figure out what the path was for the employees, what the unemployment offering was going to be, and then help transition them from being employed with us to being unemployed and first in line to get benefits. Then we started working, and thankfully there was a couple federal programs that came out that helped businesses be able to find some sort of revenue, because when you're closed and then you're allowed to reopen only with outdoor eating or curbside delivery, or then finally opening your doors and allowing for a certain amount of people inside the restaurant, and then you go from 50% capacity to 75% capacity, and you're working on that for a solid year, and you're struggling to find a way to bring people back. We were able to go through all those things, and we did it. And then as the vaccine came up and as things fully opened, we saw the demand from customers just to be overwhelming. And last year was just, from a sales standpoint, overwhelming. But the challenge presented itself with staffing. So being able to find enough folks, being able to find folks that were able to come to work, willing to come to work, able to do the work that needed to be done. And that is still a struggle to today. And it is.
What were some of the reasons they gave you, Jeff, for this? Because they're just scared to come back, or
the narrative, some of the negative narrative that some business people would have, that people wanted to stay at home and the stimulus was very generous. That was true during the time that the stimulus was being offered. Yeah. And it also provided, just like the PPP provided businesses like mine the lifeline to stay alive, the stimulus provided a lifeline for a family to stay alive. And if you had a mom that now is, my daughter is an elementary school teacher at JPS. She did all of her teaching online. Well, somebody had to be on the other end of the phone with a second grader to have them online to be taught. So moms couldn't go to work, and dads had to stay home, and everybody was remote, and everything was different. So it was a different world. As we got out of stimulus and as it got safer for people to come back to work, people that didn't come back to work still had problems with child care. They had problems with people in their family or themselves that were compromised, and they were worried about getting sick. They were fearful. And then, of course, there's just a lot of folks changed what they wanted to do, especially in our industry. They said,
it was a tremendous culture change,
Been there, done that. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go drive Uber. I'm going to do something else. So we still struggle with that. And then trying to address your original question, in this landscape where it's really difficult and wages have gone up, when supply demand curve, when there's less of a product, it costs more. There's less labor out there, so everyone is paying more, and that's great in many, many ways. But it's really, really hard for business to make that budget. Well, I
can't imagine when you start looking at what some prices were even before the pandemic as compared to now.
Yeah.
Did like steaks, seafood?
Yes.
Which things are just almost to the point where you just can't? It's almost not affordable. You can't make any money on it.
Last week, Paul, I was on 4 different cable shows in 24 hours talking about chicken wings. I call it the Great Spring Chicken Wings tour. Chicken wings are the most amazing narrative about this because they, decades ago they were throwaway items, right? And then they became super popular. So a chicken wing case might be $60. I think it's 40 pounds, and that gets you 200 pieces of wings or something like that. The wings went up to $175 at peak. Restaurants price our restaurant menu items based on a formula. We say, what is all of the cost input to put this thing on the plate for you to eat? And we mark it up 3 times. That is an industry standard in order to cover labor, rent, utilities, repairs, marketing, administration, insurance, everything. And so when you take a look at something going from 65 to 175, that's a threefold increase. Then by definition, the price should go up threefold. But you can't charge, $34, $35, $36 for a plate of 15 wings. But our wings got up to a maximum of $27. And the funny thing is, customers, while initially when this first started, were a little shocked because they go to the grocery store, because they go to the gas pump, because they see the narrative on the news, because they understand. Everyone understands the game, and we're good actors. We're not trying to do anything but keep going. Yeah. That chicken wing thing was fascinating, but Paul, it's everything. The Ukrainian war has had an impact on flour because they're an exporter of flour. So wheat products, I have a bakery. Flour is more expensive. Flour is also more expensive because it's heavy to transport and it's bulky. So there's the gas cost.
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Proteins, egg, cheese.
We got a break coming.
Yep.
Jeff, we got a break coming up here, but I want to ask you maybe some tips for folks who are getting out, and some savings tips, what they should look for, and some things to do and not to do when we come back with Jeff Good, who has a lot of the famous restaurants been around forever. Ricky Flint, we'll talk to him, 8:05. You don't serve alligator on your menu, do you, Jeff? No alligator? That's a no. Okay, back with more coming up next. Charlie Pride. Jeff Good is our guest this morning, spending some time with Jeff. Leave it to me to bring the psychology into this, Jeff, but eating out is not, it's more than just eating out. We never did that when we were young, living on the farm. It's something that in small town you didn't do a lot. But eating out to me it's a form of meditation. You get away from the world, you sit down, mom, or it deserves a break there too. So, I mean, it's the experience itself. And I think that was the reason that the people were flooding after the pandemic, relax some of their restrictions, who were, regardless of price or anything else, we're going to get back and we're going to go eat out. We want the experience.
I think you're 100% correct. And I think that you understand what we do. It's, some people call it eatertainment. It's the entertainment of eating. The commercial that you just had for two of my favorite restaurateurs ever, Mark and Mary Shapley, just listening to that a moment ago, where Mark talks about learning how to, give gracious service, being, from the Delta. What they do at Shapley's is exactly that. It feels very, very homey. It's exactly what they want it to be. And hopefully, when you eat at Sal Mookie's, it feels a little bit like going to Disneyland with your kids. Yeah. And if you eat at Bravo, it feels like you're being, cared for, and it's kind of it's a fun, upscale environment, but it's very engaging.
Can you plan?
Street, you're able to see everybody you want to see.
Yeah. Can you plan atmosphere? Can you? And I'm pushing you here because we don't have a lot of time. But can you plan? Sure. Can you? I'm going to get you on for an hour one day. Can you plan atmosphere? How do you do that when you're starting from scratch? How do you plan atmosphere?
So the partnership is the magic. So my partner, Dan, is the chef. He creates the menu. He thinks about what the idea would be. I am the momentum and the action person who brings it to life. And yes, we think about the whole package. We want to create something where food, service, environment match. And that's kind of that, it's like a Venn diagram. They all come together. I've learned from some of the best, the Bill Lathams of the world, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of great advice.
Even down to the color scheme?
Even down to the color scheme. That's where, and now, I'm not an interior designer. That's where, great people like Mary Sanders Ferris, Eric and Brennan from EK Home. These are folks that Ellen Brown originally with Bravo, 30 years ago. Talented interior decorators that are able to kind of take your theme and bring it together and find the things that you need.
Any advice out there for parents who said, I'd like to go twice as much as I'm going, but the prices are killing me? Any advice from Jeff Good?
I think we all need to choose wisely. There's always great, wonderful value-added places. My wife and I had lunch together yesterday. I snuck out and we ate at Aladdin on Lakeland. A great value there. It's a tremendous, wonderful place. Quick service, not expensive. Choose wisely. Sometimes people are holding off on as much booze as they usually drink. They might not have a bottle of wine. They might just have one glass and call it that. But I think the important thing is we do need to self-indulge. We need to self-care. We need to, and we also need to bond with ourselves and our friends. We need to love each other. And for anybody who still is concerned with safety of eating out, all of our restaurants have abundant outdoor space, and most restaurants do. So there's always a way for you to engage. And those of us in the restaurant business, I would just say this on behalf of all of us: thank you. Thank you for being.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being there. Thank you for being kind. When you walk into a restaurant and you see half the restaurant empty and they say they can't seat you, please understand they're probably dealing with a staffing issue that day. They're not doing it on purpose. We're just trying to get through it, and we're going to get through it, and we're going to keep on doing this, and we can't wait for the next 30 years.
Well, we're in every corner of the state of Mississippi, and I cannot tell you because I've been out very, very limited times dealing with what I'm dealing with, but I will tell you, in the areas that I go out, in the very few times that I've done it, probably 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's I'm not going to say it's packed, but it's close to packed. And I wonder, where the hell are you people coming from? What are you doing at 2:30 in the afternoon, filling up at least half or three-quarters of a restaurant? So unless I do it at 2:30 in the morning. Just not, it's crazy. So
now
God,
I don't want to make
all
those. I don't want to make all those corporate folks nervous to think that all of those work-at-home folks may not be working at home right now.
Well, we hope they are. We hope they are. Jeff, it's always good to have you, sir. Thank you so very much.